Hello everybody and welcome to 683. We have a beautiful day here. We are really blessed with an incredible weather. The sun is storming on us and me and Kalle have been outside, 40 minutes doing the Surya Namaskara, and I myself have low blood sugar. So if my lecture is a bit different, you have to take that into consideration. The reason I don't wait is because this is actually the theme of the lecture. So, and I call this the paradoxical development. And there are a few strains that caused this idea to come about. One was a discussion I had with a drawing teacher many years ago called Björn Eriksson, and we were talking about drawing and painting, and he said you should be loose and relax and balanced when you paint and stand with your legs apart, and you should never be tensed. And I said, are there no circumstances you should be tensed? That was my contra question. And he said first no, and then he thought, yes, there is actually. I remember it. It was so many years ago. And it's when you develop your painting skills, you should actually push yourself when you get really tense. And that tensing procedure is caused by a progression in your drawing skills. And then you become horribly tense, you feel nauseated, everything becomes very little. Exactly. Henrik is showing. Could you actually zoom in on Henry there for a while? Yes, that's it. Exactly, that's position. And you are tensed as well. You're extremely tensed. Could you possibly, Kalle, heighten up it a bit? Put it up like... yes, thank you. You become completely tensed, and the idea is you make yourself even more dual, but only for a small moment. And the idea is to push that side, and then after a couple of days, a week, integration comes again. So I've shown it like this. First you have the whole, your whole and balance, you feel fine, you're happy with yourself. You make the push and you are going to cause a sort of fragmentation, or parting at least. And when you push yourself, you don't feel any comfort. It's horrible feeling. And for instance, another good example is this weekend. We've been pushing ourselves as I would think into the left hemisphere, because what we're doing is left thinking. Yes, we've been combining it with yoga and meditation, but mostly has been this thinking, and in the end you get into the left hemisphere mood. But it's good for a while to do that. You push yourself, and what you get in the end is this breakthrough Björn was talking about. But it needs to be reintegrated. So you just wait a couple of days, you do your corporal practice, you do your yoga, you do your meditation, you do your constructive rest. And this fragmentization goes back to the whole. But now the whole is greater, it's enforced. That's the process he tried to describe, and it's a breakthrough process. You push a little extra, it's called the extra push, and that's the paradoxical. You can actually make yourself even more dual in order to become more non-dual, more whole. There's a second reason for that, and the second reason I think is there is problem both in the intellectual side. We have been taking out that with the limits We should do a lecture about the apeiron as well. This is the Western fear of the infinite, the chaotic, and the whole, actually, everything. And we made limits to shut that out. Heidegger had an excellent example from China, where the Chinese shut out the barbarians through their walls and their cultures. In China, the barbarians were constantly coming from the West, and they were destroying civilization, they were disrupting the harmony. So to keep the harmony, the Chinese finally built a wall constructed by the famous Emperor Huangdi. And they noticed at the same time also, because there were no more barbarians disrupting the order, the development slowed down. They needed this enforcement, this, so to speak, injection of something else to progress. And when I heard that from Henrik, which is excellent, I finally realized, yes, that's what Björn was talking about so many years ago. You need that extra force. You will push yourself into a zone you don't want to be. It's uncomfortable. It could be horrendous to some point. It's not customary. But you will reintegrate. It's just for a short while. And that while could be even very, very short. Because I was also thinking about putting that into the Alexander technique. And there the while is extremely short. I think somebody said, I don't remember, I think it was Jean-Loup Massero, the maximum you could support mentally, physically, to be in a balanced position, I'd say is 20 seconds. After that, it gets too much. It's the system wants to go back to status quo. And here you have the problem in a nutshell. China wanted to keep its status quo, therefore they built the wall, but it stopped the evolution. This is also case theory, chaos theory. Chaos theory shows us, because of disruption, the strange attractor, the order in the stream, the order in the weather system needs the disrupted forces to become strong. So it's a complementarity between order, I do a square here, this is my symbol of order, and the chaos. I do chaos like this. Could be a circle as well. And these are complementary. And think of it, it's not far from to say that the wave could be perceived as something chaotic. At least it's not a particle. I think it could be stretching it a bit far, but it's not too far actually in a way. Whereas the point reality, the particle, is more stable in some ways. It has a definite space. The wave doesn't. The wave is everywhere. No part is excluded in any part of reality from the wave. I have felt this happening in this weekend as well. I felt after the second podcast, a sort of an emptiness in my head. When you go into the left mood, you get two black and white, and that is pretty horrible in the end. You feel detached from your body. We made a yoga that was quite successful yesterday, but still, I didn't feel like this sure, nice balance. And I think that was because of the left hemisphere mood. it sort of faded during the evening thanks to nice food and nice company. But we need to recuperate, get whole again. So we have a comfort zone. We, like China, has their wish for stability. And this is very interesting because I thought about this Ken Ware. I'm going to write him up. We haven't brought him up yet. I think it's time now. Because Ken Ware, an Australian physiotherapist, means that the path to stability, I hope the spelling is correct. It could be an E here, but I don't think so, actually, to be honest. Ken Ware showed that he could help people who were paraplegic, that had severe birth deficit, auto accident people, who could not move, who could not walk, who could not talk, in those different categories, by introducing chaos in the system. And he found out that himself by trial and error. He's not a scholar, but he found this out and it worked. And he started that. And it's so weird. It goes against the grain of what we think we should be doing. You can hardly walk. Some of these people are, there's no movement. And he introduced chaos into the system. And for some mad reason, they stabilize. I have a friend who went there, stayed, I think it was a month or something like that. And she saw miracles happen there, really, with people who are judged to be incurable for good reasons. But something happened. And it's the whole system. We are fixated on the neurons. We don't understand it's the whole system that is doing the job. The outside, the skin almost, as John said the other day, the skin is what leads us, the outside. One could even perceive this as we push things so they start to move about, and then after a while comes this stability. And the things that you pushed around will come into position again, but it will be a new position. And I think this is a development that some people intuitively have done for ages, is breaking up things to have a new development. I heard different bits here and there, some stories about you build up a house and then after 30 years you burn it down. And I think that's a tradition that's still going on now. And that's to show, when I heard it the first time, for me it was explained, that it's to show the futility of life. Of course, I grew up in the Western society. That's what you obviously think. But however, it's not so in chaos theory. Actually, the destruction is the reason for the continuity. That's the actual point.
The left hemisphere is completely wrong then, to disrupt.
Well, in this thinking here, it's a bit in that direction, that because it's complicated with McKilkris, but from the start I thought Well, and that was my perception, not due to Ian McGilchrist, but it is almost that they are completely equal, the left and the right hemisphere. It's just a working order. And what he means by an emissary, it's a person who actually work instead of the emperor, doing everything. But he's sort of in the background sometimes, the right hemisphere. Just looking, not even deciding. And that sounds like the Japanese system. You'd like that, Kalle, because we've been talking about hierarchy. The Japanese boss system in the industry is that you have a CEO who decides everything, takes the decisions. But the real boss is somebody else. And he doesn't take any decisions. He is the master and the other one is the emissary. And why is that? Well, it's because the master has complete trust to his emissary. It's so weird. It's completely different. That won't even happen in the Western world. But it's a good way because you see the CEO as number one. Whereas looking a bit deeper, it could actually turn out to be number two that's number one. They are co-equal. And my idea from the beginning is I don't personally think that the right hemisphere is the only one who's been losing out. I think the left hemisphere has been losing out as well. And it needs to come to its prime. But that's my idea. That's not coming from Ian McGilchrist. It has a good disruptive power. Well, we've been talking earlier about pushing boundaries and not staying within the comfort zone. And one of the reasons we have such a trouble getting into balance is that we are have gotten used into sort of stability. And this stability can be shown, I've done it before. It's tightening of the knees, tightening of the ankles, locking the hips. There is a compression here and there is a tension here. And that's how I stand. This is my china with walls around it. This supports me, I think, but it has multiple reasons. It also takes away reality. We talked about that earlier. When you are tensed, your proprioception goes away. And what could be the reasons for that? Well, is to avoid what the body and me thinks is chaos. Different disruptive emotions, different disruptive impressions that are challenging my integrity, my stability. There are different reasons, and things coming from the outside can disrupt, but it's also the inside. Emotions usually stem from within the body. It could be memories, can be feelings I don't want to feel, sad feelings. We try to avoid certain feelings. And that becomes a posture to avoid outside and inside. So we need to disrupt that. And one important thing is that's the encouragement. And there I have to say this Jean Du, the French guy, he is horrible at encouragement. He doesn't give any bananas or carrots to the people who are studying him. That seemed to be beyond him completely. But that is absolutely needed because you will not push you into that position that he suggested, an upright position. You're more balanced, you can look in the mirror and you can do as he said, you can measure everything and it's correct. But you don't want to be in that place for a long time. And you just want to go back to your protective stance. But if you are led to understand the reward is incredible, the opening up, it's a new world. And I felt that a little bit of that this morning with a fantastic yoga experience. when we open up, we get more of reality. We work better. We function better in the balance that we get after disrupting our current balance. We get a greater balance. It's the same as chaos theory. When two systems of strange attractor goes together, the strange attraction, the order becomes more than double. It's a synergy effect. We have a double-sided nature. We are two parts, but at the very same time, we are one part that is joined. And the two different parts are completely different, completely separated. At the same time, there are one and only one. That is the paradox everybody wants to avoid. And I think that paradox is, they try to avoid it. Both Daniel Dennett and the opposing side try to avoid it. Even the ones who's proposing non-dualism. Because they don't want to accept that there is a separation. So we need to do two things. We need to understand there can be complete separation, but at the same time, it's complementary. Coffee, please. So we filled up a little bit of coffee. Well, you push yourself, and this we did this weekend. We push ourselves into the maximum left hemisphere. Everything become black and white and intellectual thinking, and I think that's important. We earlier mentioned this Klein bottle. Now I have it live, but it's needed from the intellectual left hemisphere side to understand this. It needs to understand it's not being tricked. And here it can feel, it can see that the outside goes into the inside. So volume and receptacle in one sense is exactly the same, but in another sense they are completely separated. And this is the paradox in a nutshell. And it helps to see the paradox, to feel it, have it in your hand. And this is this paradox we do within ourselves. I felt this weekend I was becoming Daniel Dennett. I felt deadened inside. I felt numb. I only felt the intellectual endeavor to understand the outmost aspects of space as borders, going to the Klein bottle, and also these new expressions that I would love to return to, coming from Rosen at payroll. I will get back to that in another lecture. Is dead interesting. But the thing is, you can go back to life. We are investing. We know that in a couple of days you will get back to normal. And is this process of anticipation, I want that, that makes you push yourself into a place you don't want? And this is something that John Doe forgot. People won't push themselves to do this if you don't encourage them. Same goes for yourself. If you don't put into your head, you have a gain here. You will gain something very, very big. You won't do it. Your body won't do it. Even if you try to will yourself, it's going to be strained. But if you understand the reward, and let me just terminate with an expression I heard from a famous Zen master in Korea, in Seoul, many years ago. He said, the key to peace of mind and harmony is understanding the gain, because otherwise you will not gain not even half. penny, nothing will be gained. So we need to understand the importance of having that dream. I really want that. This dream is bigger than the other dreams. It takes precedence. It's larger and it gives you so much. And of course, very important to put in the book, to tell people what they can reach. They can reach to the sky. Otherwise, they won't push themselves to do that. It's not enough to tell it's true. You have to do both things. It's true, understand it from the left hemisphere, but you need the gain. What do you get from that? And that's the thinking of the right hemisphere. The left hemisphere doesn't understand gain because it only lives in the now. He has no idea of purpose, intention, gain. He won't make a fortune. And I think Ian said it's sort of aggressive, irritated. I felt that yesterday as well. But it's very poor part of the head. And we would all be poor if the left had its demand. Okay, I finish this up there. Thank you very much and have a pleasant afternoon. Bye bye.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.